So excited.
This is an exclusive, really, because you've been on TMZ, Huffington Post, you've been on every news outlet in the world, but nobody has heard from En Vogue since the lawsuit. So we are here with Cindy Herron and Terry Ellis of En Vogue.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
Y'all the winners. Now, what is the winners of what?
Well, you know what? It's just it's so weird because unfortunately it's not something we're celebrating.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a real sad situation for us. However, we had to handle our business and try and protect the brand as best we could.
Business is business.
So it is the En Vogue trademark.
Well, what happened? I mean, first of all, why did you guys have to sue?
Actually, it wasn't a lawsuit per se. Initially, we did have to file a lawsuit, but our operating agreement calls for arbitration. If there are any disagreements involving the business, that we would all agree to arbitrate.
Okay.
And so that was the agreement that we all signed. So we had a day of arbitration, and there were some issues, Maxine, we had some issues. Ultimately, it boiled down to choice of management. And we were in disagreement. So Maxine, was being upset, decided to not come take any more shows. And a lot of offers were coming and going. And she wanted us to first iron out the management issues, but we couldn't get those ironed out in the meantime. We were still disagreeing about how to handle that part of the business. So she decided not to come take any more shows. And we asked her repeatedly, please come do these shows with us.
Right.
And her response was no.
So you guys had a slew of shows set up.
Money.
All right,
We always,
money.
we're always working. We always do shows. And we constantly get offers.
And you couldn't agree about a manager?
That's correct.
And so she didn't show up to get a check.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I
Ultimately.
understand.
Well, just to expound on that a little more, Max had hired her own personal manager.
Okay.
Which was fine.
Sure.
But our position was, that's fine, but that's your personal expense. It shouldn't be a company expense. The manager that we had, we all agreed on him.
And we all agreed to hire him.
We all agreed
initially.
to hire him initially. And he was who was getting us work. The work was coming in. We couldn't say that we would accept shows because she wouldn't respond to us.
Okay.
Because she wanted to either fire the manager that we all agreed on, which was not a good idea.
Right.
Especially at that time. One, there was no reason to fire him, except that she just decided she didn't like him anymore. She felt like he was me and Cindy's manager.
Okay.
And we kept saying, well, Max, that's not the case. We all hired him together. He's not giving us no special attention.
Right.
We're not working any more than she, we
Right.
all, it was a group, he booked shows for the entity.
Right.
And
So what it was she wanted us to either fire him or agree to take a part of our income and pay her personal manager.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait. Okay, we are talking to En Vogue, the official members of En Vogue, Cindy Herron, Terry Ellis. This is a Cafe Mocha exclusive.
The original members of En Vogue, right?
Well, the official.
to the original members.
Cindy Herron,
Sitting here.
Terry Ellis. Now, so when last we met, you guys were having a management conflict, and Maxine was unhappy with the management. You had all these gigs locked down. She refused to show up. How do we wind up at lawsuit?
Well, we couldn't really move forward. We, after a few, she wouldn't communicate with us anymore except through email. And so we were emailing back and forth, and we were asking her very kindly, please come do these shows with us. And her response would be no. And so finally, after about the second or the third, request for her to come do shows, we said, until we know what you're doing, we have to have somebody come in here and fill in for you.
Okay.
But even before that, we were being threatened with, her threatening us with an attorney.
Yeah, you're going to hear from my lawyer.
Oh.
We weren't trying to take it there. That's an expense that nobody wants to incur.
Right.
Exactly.
And we never wanted it to go there, ever. But we after
the
many
second or the
shows.
third. No, also after the second or the third threat from her that we were going to hear from her attorney, we just said, I guess we better retain somebody because I think she's going to sue us, or she's going to attempt to sue us.
And
so
not
we
only that,
retained someone.
Right.
And
not
that
only
is
that,
when
because we weren't, there were shows that we had all agreed on already that was on the books that she just decided she wasn't going to do. So there's the potential of the company getting sued if we're not showing up and the members that are supposed to be showing up aren't showing up.
Oh.
So the management had to go to the promoters to explain what was going on. They said, okay. So then we called Max and we said, well, we didn't call him. It was all by email. Max, we can't continue to operate like this. It's affecting the brand, the company, our livelihood. If you don't respond, we're going to have to ask somebody to come in and fill in for you. And we were hoping, even when we called and had someone come in and fill in for her, we were hoping in the interim that things would work out.
Right.
So we only asked the girl, Rona Bennett, to come in for a couple of shows. Well, it continued to not be worked out.
Oh.
And then she just plain old just stopped responding after that.
So once we retained an attorney, of course now he had to begin corresponding with her or her attorney,
right,
and requesting, that we arbitrate because he really did try to. Try to get us to work things out without ever having to get to arbitration. He kept saying, well, do you think there's a way that she'll come back if you do this or that? And ultimately, her response was, no, I'm not coming back to do shows until we work this management thing out. So once we retained our attorney and he began the process of communicating with her attorney, we had to file for arbitration because that was the only way we felt like we could work this out. And in the meantime, she got in touch with Dawn, or vice versa. But we believe she got in touch with Dawn, and then they started promoting, putting out there in the public that they were uniting to do another En Vogue. They had a group called En Vogue, Heirs to the Throne, and they started booking shows. Well, that's when the trademark name became an issue because it's just not good business for the brand to have two touring En Vogues in the market, and ultimately it was affecting us getting work because the promoters were like, "How do I know who I'm getting?" And I don't want to hire any of y'all, and it was kind of like that. So then that became an issue. The name, the trademark name became an issue, and that's how it became an issue in arbitration. And ultimately, the arbitrator decided, and the federal court confirmed it, that we would.
You guys
the sole owners of that. We would retain the name. It wasn't something we.
Did you guys have to go in and testify or talk, or how did you win the case?
We had a day of arbitration, where you're in an attorney's office, so it's not an actual courtroom, but you do have an arbitrator who is a judge, and he's authorized to judge. Look at all of the information, all of the exhibits that both sides submit. Look at all of the evidence. Everything, and make a decision. And also, each side is cross-examined. And then based on all of that, it really is like an 8-hour day of court, basically. But it's not in an actual courtroom, and the judge is the arbitrator. So after looking at all of the evidence, looking at our operating agreement, looking at the emails that went back and forth, he decided, and also looking at the fact that they were doing shows as En Vogue as well, and we already had shows booked. It wasn't like we ever shut down the first En Vogue. So really, for there to be two in the touring market, it really was not good all the way around. So after having looked at all of that, he decided that he should award us with ownership of the name. So we also filed with the federal court to have them confirm it, and they did.
It's Cafe Mocha. We're talking to En Vogue, Cindy Herron, and Terry Ellis.
I got a question when we come back.